I'll start with the drum kit. We have a great drummer, actually Steve Barney on drums. And so on the kick I use Audix D6 outer microphone and a Beta 91 Shure inside. The Audix is amazing. I recommend it for everybody to try. Just great kick sound with pretty much no EQ. Amazing. We have a full Sennheiser kit with a 905 on the snare drum. Just great sounding mic for the snare, lots of attack. 904 on the snare bottom and all the toms. Overheads are MKH 8040s, beautiful condenser microphones from Sennheiser as well. So the kit, is pretty simple. It's got two snares as well, piccolo snare, which he's using on some of the tracks. Sounds really sharp, beautiful. There's also a Sennheiser 904 on it. We also have some triggers, which Steve uses on a few tracks. So there's two output, there's kick and snare and hi-hat on two tracks, going into two DIs. Actually, what my favorite is I use some triggers on the toms. So every tom has a trigger. These are Roland triggers. These actually control the gate on each tom. So it's a lot more precise than controlling the gate with a microphone. So you can hit as hard as you want the other tom, it won't open the gate. So I'm standing now on a bass mat, which saves us having a bass amplifier. Everybody's on in-ears, by the way, so everything's super quiet except the drums. Electric bass, and the other one is a synth, playing a very deep bass on the last two tracks. So Orofo, the bass player, is also the musical director, who is also in charge of the multi-track. So we are running some strings, backing vocals, effect, and loops, some beats at the same time through those hard drives. So here, keyboards. So Gary is using, I've got 4 channels of keyboards, piano and organs and strings on the same channels as the organ. I think he's using main stage, so the laptop is not here at the moment. But it's a brilliant setup. The piano sounds great, very easy. 4 tracks of keyboards, 2 stereos, nothing else to say. This is a guitar rig. This amp is absolutely spectacular. The sound and the power are it's unbelievable. One mic on the cabinet and also one DI out of the amp. I don't blend both of them. I just use either one during the show. They both sound great, different, but both sounds great. Again, very simple setup for the guitar. Electric, DI mic, and there's one acoustic guitar on a couple of tracks as well, going through a DI. That's it, so 3 channels for the guitar. 2 backing vocals, 2 channels, 2 Sennheisers 5235 wireless, which are great. We have great singers. Again, it's very easy. I just push the level and it sounds great. So that's the BVs. 2 beautiful singers with 2 gorgeous voices and 2 beautiful microphones. So Anastacia here with a 5235 as well. We have 1 spare and 1 main vocal for her. That's about it. I'm gonna go through, I've chosen a song Sick and Tired, which was one of Anastasia's big hits. And I'll give you a quick run through that song, show you what I do. Again, it's very simple.
Somewhere along the way, you there come a time you'd hear me say, I'm sick and tired, I'm always being sick and tired.
There are 3 layers. The first layer with the drums and the bass. Second layer with all the backing track, guitars, backing vocals, and lead vocal, Anastacia. And the third layer are my drum triggers, audience microphones, and communication. Starting on the drums, very simple, going straight into the master bus, no group compression, no individual compression, just let them pump naturally I have some, might say, interesting EQ or extreme EQ. For example, on the toms, I do like to remove all the middle and just have a little fat and bright, sounding tom, which doesn't take too much space on the mix, but you rather feel than you hear. Same with, I tend to be very extreme on the hi-hat, as you can see, ride and overheads, where I take off all the low end and the harshness. I just want it to be very, very precise and without hurting. So it does cut through, very precise sound, but even if he really bashes the cymbals, it doesn't hurt your ears, and that's what I try to achieve. Kick also is pretty intense. I cut a lot of mid, and same with the kick. I want to feel it rather than hear it. We've got a piccolo snare, a little bit of EQ, just a little bit of top end. There's no bottom mic on this, so I just had to brighten it a little bit. The main snare, snare bottom, which I only use for the brightness. So as you can see, again, pretty extreme EQ. Steve also uses two input of electronic kicks, so very fat drum kick sound, and some hi-hat and snare. Again, hardly any EQ, and as you can see, there's no compression, and it's going straight into the mix, left and right. Next, the bass. The bass goes through the very cool plugin called Pro Comp, which I love. It looks great. It's very easy to manipulate really quickly. It sounds really good. It really does a great job. So I use this on the bass. Well recommended. You should try it. And so that's a bass DI. I have a bass synth, which has really low bass on the last two tracks of the show. Again, very little EQ, but I use the onboard compression, which does a great job. Second layer, the guitar. So here I have the electric guitar. Again, little EQ, onboard compressor, little compression, and that's it. Nothing else. Acoustic guitar. I took a lot of top end off because it's very bright. It's got a very bright guitar. Little bit of reverb. Little bit of compression. Guitar DI, same. Little compression, little EQ. Then we move on to the keyboards. Keyboards 1 and 2. Keyboards 1, both in stereo. Piano sounds. No compression. See, actually, there is a compressor. Pro compressor on this. Little reverb, little EQ. Same for keyboard 2, which is organ sound. There's actually no compressor on this one and hardly any EQ, but it sounds great. It works for me. Then we move on to the multi-track. So I have 8 tracks, 4 stereo tracks, and with the venue, you can actually group 2 tracks into one. So instead of having 8 faders, I just have 4, which is great. Save some space. You can see here 4 stereo as I highlight it. So the first 2 tracks are all kind of effects. There are EQs on this which changes through the show. So if I record scenes, you would see I have different EQ because every recording and every effect is different. And I always try with this to cut the harshness so it fits in the mix, but it doesn't invade Anastasia's vocal space. That's always what I try to achieve. Got another 2 tracks of loops, again with automated settings. Automated EQ as I skip through the scenes, second tired, some strings and backing vocals, all very little EQ, a little bit of compressor. Then we move on to Lorraine and Hazel, our 2 backing vocals, a little bit of EQ and a little bit of compressor, and Anastacia, where I use the actual onboard compressor, which I like very much, it does a great job, followed by the AE4000 with the frequency is around 4K and 6.5K when she really screams, which will bring those frequencies down. So great to control this, but you don't lose the clarity. So as you can see, I have 2 effects on Anastacia. I have a reverb and a delay. So the auxiliaries are always on, but I do control the master send of those auxiliaries on VCAs, so which are right here. Why I do this? It's easier for me to do this action with a fader or even having a mute. It's just more accessible. So for the delay, on, off, level, that's the only reason why I do this. It's brilliant. You should try it. And third layer, actually, we are the drum trigger, which we saw on the tom earlier. So as you can see, they're not routed anywhere. They are just used as trigger to open, to control the gates. So they're on side chains here. You can see trigger 1, trigger 2, and 3. They are the one controlling the opening and the closing of the gate. So I'm going to do a virtual sound check with Anastasia's track called Sick and Tired. I'll just start with the vocals so you can hear the effect, reverb and delay.
ਬੇਪਰਵਾਹ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ 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 ਬੇਪਰਵਾਹ
backing vocals and Anastacia.
ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਬੇਪਰਵਾਹ 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 ਦੇ ਨਾਲ
No warning of such a sad song of broken hearts. My dreams of fairy tales and fantasies, oh, were torn apart.
So here you can hear the revibe.
Oh, I lost my peace of mind somewhere along the way. I knew there'd come a time you'd hear me say,
Delay.
I'm sick and tired of always being sick and tired.
ਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਬੇਪਰਵਾਹ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਲ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਬੇਪਰਵਾਹ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ
Drum.
Your love isn't fair. You live in a world where you didn't listen and you didn't care. So I'm floating on Warning of such a sad song of broken hearts. My dreams of fairy tales and fantasies were torn apart. Oh, I lost my peace of mind somewhere along the way. I knew there'd come
Just the
a time
vocals,
you'd hear me
revibe.
say, I'm sick and tired of what?
And a delay, as you can see, I control it
You
here.
not! Let me see your hand!
So,
Your love isn't
easy.
fair. You live in a world where you
Reverb,
didn't
also on the
listen
master.
and you didn't care. So I'm floating on air.
So here I use a VCA